Welcome back to the news at 10. On to our community report tonight now. Yobe State is one of the worst hit by Boko Haram attacks. And as the battle to end terrorist onslaughts continues, there seems to be another major challenge facing the authorities, and that's the issue of high mortality in the state. The crisis in Yobe State is affecting the maternal and child mortality ratio in the state, and that's our focus in our community report tonight.
Now you're talking.
The most recent figures from the National Demographic and Health Survey puts Nigeria's overall maternal mortality ratio at 545 to 100,000 live births, with a high degree of variation across the country. The highest maternal mortality ratio is, however, found in the northeast zone, where Yobe State is situated. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Mohammed Kamwa, also explains that over 80,000 maternal and child cases were attended to within the first quarter of the year, free of charge.
In the last, between January and September 2014, we have attended to almost 50,000 pregnant women in our various hospitals, comprehensive centers, and then maternal and child health outlets as well. Cumulatively, in the 3 quarters, close to 80,000 pregnant women were attended to. So these are not small figures if you look at the population of Yobe State, you understand. And then, how many deliveries have we taken in just 3 quarters of 2014? In these 3 quarters, close to 16,000 deliveries were conducted in our various pre-service healthcare outlets.
The pre-maternal and the child health program that was introduced by the Yobe State government greatly assisted in making sure that most of our people, particularly when they were coming to hospitals, one thing they will be thinking is how much will it cost them to get the services. But when it was observed that it is free for our mothers who are coming pregnant, free for children, in fact that barrier has been broken, and that's created a lot of demand in the general population for them to troop in.
Investigation, however, reveals that sometimes the free drugs procured for distribution to women and children are in short supply.
Initially, when we started, the number of people that were accessing services were little. But then, as I'm talking to you now, they have increased 3- to 4-fold the number of people that come to access. So you can understand that the demand is very high all over the place. So at the end of the day, the needs we are able to cater for, let's say 60-70%, or even at least just thereabout. So you know that there will be a gap of about 30 to 40% gap of the needs. So it is not surprising for you to go to a health facility maybe during the 3rd week or the 4th week, especially during the 4th week before the next cycle comes. You now go, probably you now meet that some items are not available.
Although the free drug program has encouraged women to attend anti- and postnatal care,
these free drugs really has affected us very well, especially childbearing age women. That is the pregnant mothers, the nursing mothers, and the child from 0 to 5 years. All their treatment is free. So we are having a lot of patients now from within Damatun and even outside within the neighboring state. They used to come because of these free drugs.
There are also fears that the insurgency and curfew may put the traditional birth attendants back in business.
The government is training the local midwives so that if such a case happens, it's a matter of knocking to your neighbor, then they will come to your aid.
Yobe State will need more than the support of the residents to overcome the present situation. The priority now is the partnership of the federal authorities, not only in battling the insurgency, but also in providing the needed health support to reduce the high maternal mortality rate.
Tisala, now you're talking.
To the security of health now, efforts are being intensified to draw attention of Nigerians to the high risk of cancer and other hazardous effects through the exposure to cheap cooking oil that might be contaminated with polychlorinated biphenyls, a cancer-causing agent. The PCBs are a class of hazardous chemicals banned the world over since 1979 for adverse effects such as cancers, birth defects, dysfunctional immune and reproductive systems, and diminished intelligence, especially in children. There is a 4-year research project being executed in conjunction with the World Bank to the tune of $6.3 million, aimed at creating awareness so that Nigerians can stay protected from these hazards until a complete mop-up is done.
Eating bean cakes, popularly known as akara, or commercially fried yam, plantain, and fish could be damaging to your health. This is an alarming piece of information when you consider that these are roadside delicacies many Nigerians love to enjoy. But environment specialists working on a project aimed at mopping up a harmful agent added to oil known as polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, say commercial roadside sellers are at risk of being sold cheap oil that lasts longer but which is highly carcinogenic.
If you happen to see transformer oil containing PCB, very, very fine. You just take it like any other, what we call the vegetable oil. Some people will be talking of one particular woman at one junction. You have to go there and get the akara. Unknown to the woman, she's using oil which some dubious people may have sold to her. Number one, when she's using the oil doesn't diminish, because if you are using 1 liter of oil in your frying pan, after some days, of course the oil will go down, isn't it? Then you have to add more. But in this case, the oil doesn't go down, so it is a plus to the woman. And people, they are dying quietly without knowing.
The Nigeria Polychlorinated Biphenyls PCBs Management Project, a 4-year project executed in conjunction with the Global Environment Facility and the World Bank, is aimed at creating awareness on the dangers of PCBs to human health and the environment, oils which are commonly used in transformers.
The adverse effects of PCB include cancer, birth defects, dysfunctional immune and reproductive system, greater susceptibility to disease, and diminished intelligence, especially among our children.
It's for $6.3 million. So it's quite a big grant, and it was to be for 4 years. This project started in 2012 and is to terminate in 2015. We have quite a few things that have been done, but we noticed that communication is a big part of the project.
The use of PCBs was banned in Western countries as far back as 1979. Since then, Nigeria may not have imported equipment using these agents, but there is need now to mop up the ones already in the country. The target, therefore, would be to keep children away from location of transformers to save them from the hazardous effects, to keep second-hand transformers away from Nigeria, to enlighten sellers to buy oil without PCB content, and farmers to cultivate far away from transformers to avoid contaminating their crops and putting lives at risk.
Some more cheery news now happening in the arts. The National Troupe of Nigeria has emerged and embarked on an initiative using theatre to build bridges and urge those who have got talents to emerge to embrace the arts. After visiting several communities in Kogi and Ekiti states, it's time to take the message to a citadel of learning. Our review tonight looks at Ajoyo, the touring drama, going to an institution which prides itself as better by far.
The University of Ilorin, Kwara State, North Central Nigeria, the first ivory tower to be visited by the National Troupe of Nigeria during this tour. The stage is set and the hall is packed with the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Abdulganiu Ambali, his academic team, scholars and students, especially those in the Performing Arts Department. With the caliber of people in attendance, the artists were eager to impress and had to up their game by making the opening act glamorous with colorful apparels. Before changing to a simple black and white costume, which was used till the end of the show. Ajoyo, a celebration of the arts, lights up the stage yet again. This folk classic, written by John Farabeen, is sure to delight any audience with its humor and glorious illustrations. The drama between Liza and Henry played out in Hole in the Bucket. After several interesting performances, the troupe gets a standing ovation for a job well done.
Some of us are already thinking of retirement because we are not sure that there are people who are ready to take over from us. Otherwise, what would you say about the passion with which the performers performed throughout the evening?
While students are encouraged to exude this sort of energy when they leave these walls.
We're not quite done with the arts yet. For 10 years now, the Exponent 5 jazz band has been making music for the Nigerian and American communities in the United States. Though members say they have had a good ride, their heart's desire is to bring some of their good music back home to Nigeria. Our correspondent Ine Thompson got a feel of their music to understand what Exponent 5 is all about.
Nigerians, Kelvin Ike Penny on the lead guitar, Olaiton Adebowale on the keyboard, Olaolu Ajibade on the drums, and Alexander Itakpan on bass guitar, have left their home country to settle in the United States, not just to make ends meet, but spread a kind of music they call New Life Groove.
The mixture of American neo soul and the Nigerian high life. So it's a fusion of both like really American smooth jazz and African rhythm from high life. So I fuse both of them together.
The group Exponent 5 Jazz says the level of acceptance has been impressive compared to the music business in Nigeria. They add that there's a lot of work yet to be done to stop the relocation of Nigeria's best talents.
I mean, moving over here, we've learned lots of new things like, getting publishers and all that. But in Nigeria, it's really hard.
You work for it, and people have to pay for it. Radio stations, you get royalties and all that. That's how it's supposed to be. People in Nigeria just think it's by live shows.
While they are enjoying the good life in the United States, they agree they have a responsibility to contribute to the development of the industry back home.
Right now, I'm still trying to put up stuff like workshops and stuff on internet because I feel like that's the only closest way to get my music and my stuff back home.
Meanwhile, they continue entertaining not just the Nigerian community, but jazz lovers in the United States. Ini Thompson, Channels Television, Washington, D.C.
Music for the soul this Christmas. Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria gets foes ahead of next year's CAF Under-17 Championship. We'll have more in sports news. Please stay with us.